Now let's shift our focus to Europe. The European Union is clashing with China over trade. Earlier this month, Brussels pushed a proposal. It proposed a steep tariff on Chinese EVs. Europeans have been complaining about an oversupply from China, but not everyone agrees with the plan. Countries like Germany have criticized these tariffs. Brussels and Beijing now say they want to discuss the issue, try to resolve it through a dialogue. Does Europe plan to go easy on China? Our next report explores.
This may look like a car park to you, but this is a shipping port in Europe. All over the region, ports are flooded with Chinese cars like this. Their influx has hit Europe like an electric shock. So when Europe decided to slap tariffs on Chinese EVs, the move was seen as a bold step. To keep the oversupply from China in check, Brussels has planned to slap up to 38% in extra duties. But after the sharp response from Beijing, the EU's resolve is being put to the test. Over the weekend, top officials from both sides spoke. Brussels hasn't pulled the plug yet, but it has agreed to hold discussions with Beijing. In recent days, the differences within the bloc have become more obvious. Germany in particular has been against these tariffs. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has been lobbying Brussels. He wants the EU to scale back its plan.
Ladies and gentlemen, free trade is one of the foundations of our prosperity in Germany and Europe. That is why I will be lobbying the new EU Commission vigorously in favor of more and better free trade agreements.
German leaders have visited China. This trip has been widely seen as a crisis visit to avert a full-blown trade war. There's pressure from the car-making industry too. China is a big market for German car makers, the likes of Volkswagen, BMW and Mercedes-Benz. These companies are worried about counter-tariffs from Beijing.
Having implemented those tariffs now, what is the goal of it? If you implement those to protect the industry, but the industry said we do not want this protection because we are dependent on the openness of our markets, but also of our guest markets, such as China.
Beijing is exploiting these divisions within Europe. For friendly countries like Germany, it's offering incentives. Berlin has been promised perks for its car makers like reduced tariffs. In exchange, China wants Germany's support to block the tariff plan. For rivals, Beijing is wielding the stick. China has launched an anti-dumping probe into French brandy. French cognac producers are worried too. They fear retaliation from Beijing due to the EV tariffs. Beijing is targeting European pork as well. Last week, it opened an investigation into the product. This is a tit-for-tat response to the EV tariffs. China is the world's biggest consumer of pork and it buys significant quantities from Europe, especially Spain and Denmark. So a complete ban would hurt these nations. China has put some extreme options on the table as well, like a lawsuit at the World Trade Organization.
China has principles that must be defended, namely WTO rules and market principles, and interests that must be maintained, namely the legitimate rights and interests of China's electric vehicle industry and enterprises. To this end, we will resolutely take all necessary measures.
Before its talks with Brussels, China has laid out its expectations. Chinese mouthpiece, the Global Times, has published a report. It says Beijing wants the EU to scrap the EV tariffs. China has set a deadline, the 4th of July. What if Brussels doesn't comply? A full-blown trade war could break out, and it remains to be seen if Brussels has the stomach for it.
On the today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon fans move across to the West Indies. What can we expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
We start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. The first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C.